Hello everyone, Valiath here, and today I'll be showing you my plus 23 Galakrond's fall I did with my warrior guildmate Loktard. He just recently got the legendary weapon, so you'll get to see that in action in this key as well. This was a really nice run with some great players, and even though we had some mishaps along the way, we were able to 2-chest this key. And for some reason, unbeknownst to myself, my little wigs decided to bug out and decided to not work at all, so I was doing this blind, so to speak. This first pull is probably one of the most fun pulls in any dungeon so far this season. Everyone did a great job to make sure they didn't stand in unnecessary damage, which allowed me to do a lot more damage as a healer. You'll see I topped that at about 210,000 DPS as a Holy Paladin. So with the right group and the right pull, we can focus a lot on DPS and do an insane amount of damage. The first boss in here is kind of a pushover, to be honest with you. For us as healers, just be ready for the tank heal absorb and the dispel, and outside of that, it's really not that bad. Make sure you heal up everyone when everyone goes to the edges to drop off their pools, but other than that, there's not really a whole lot of damage going out. And now for my least favorite part of this dungeon. This entire platform is just pure hell for healers. These coalesce time guys are really tough, especially if people don't move away when they get the debuff applied to them. Make sure you give it a second or two to make people spread out so you can dispel it one at a time. But even if you do, be prepared for the damage that gets pushed out. It can be quite a lot if you're not prepared for it. Watch out for these leeches. They'll target a player and cast Enervate on them, which is a channeled spell. It's easily identified because it will be a bright yellow beam targeted at the player. This slaps. It hurts quite a bit, so make sure you pay attention to the player targeted. The next dangerous enemy in this platform to pay attention to is the Time Stream Anomaly. It's the big dinosaur looking creepy thing that pats around the middle. This guy has a frontal, so make sure you don't stand in front of him. But more importantly, he casts out a spell called Bloom. This will hit 2 people. Generally it's the tank and one other player. make sure you dispel the other player. The tank should be able to take the damage as it comes. The second boss in here though is really tough for all healers to heal through. Your timing and positioning is crucial. The chronofader debuff that's put on 2 players will need to be dispelled in the fast area, which is the slice of the platform that is brighter in color. Standing in this part speeds you up, while standing in the darker area makes you take more damage. It is very important that the player that has a debuff stand absolutely still when it's about to be dispelled or expire. If you do that, you take no damage from it whatsoever. This boss is no joke, and you'll see I'll make a mistake here and I'll pay the price for it. Thankfully, we had a Balrus available, which allowed me to get back up and finish out the fight. This is what happens when the debuff is expired or dispelled in the wrong section of the platform. As the healer, I generally wait a couple seconds before I dispel and assume that the DPS players put themselves in the right slice of the platform. In this particular instance, that didn't happen. On top of that, I think the rogue may have cloaked the debuff, that's why both of them went off at the same time. As you see, I gain as much distance as I possibly can between myself and the rings, and at the very end, jump both of them to avoid as much damage as I can. As has become pretty standard these days, we're gonna skip this big dragon and go straight to the double risen Dragonpool. Even though this is a tyrannical week, these guys still do a lot of damage, so make sure you have your CDs available and pay extra attention to your feet, which I failed miserably to do here. The third boss in here can be quite challenging given all the movement that's required to avoid damage. And on tyrannical weeks, small mistakes can cost you dearly. Us as healers need to pay extra attention on the player afflicted with corrosion. That stuff hurts like hell. You need to make sure you keep them alive. Outside of that, don't stand in the bad stuff on the ground, avoid the necrotic winds, and in the last phase, don't stand in front of the dragon. A little bit of advice for everyone out there. Always carry invisibility pots with you in any key you run. In this case, the rogue went ahead and used Shroud when I wasn't even with the group. If I hadn't had invis pots available, they would have had to come back and kill the trash in front of this tunnel, which would have wasted a lot of time. First thing you want to do when you enter this room is set Chromie as your focus. To do so, click on her and then right click her unit frame and hit set focus. This will make sure that you have a unit frame available for her at all times during the encounter, which will make it much easier for you to find her and select her and heal her. The biggest challenge on this boss is his Extinction Blast cast. This will absolutely truck the player target, so you'll need to make sure you plow a ton of healing into them after it hits. To make things worse for us, immediately after he starts casting Stonecracker Barrage, which does a stupid amount of damage on these key levels and will kill the group unless you are prepared for it. Once you get to the third Stonecracker Barrage, unless everyone uses their defensives, the group will likely wipe. Make sure you have your CDs available for all of these instances, as you will need them. After each Stonecracker Barrage, make sure you fully heal Chromie. If you don't, it is a wipe. This is where the set focus unit frame is super helpful for you, as you still have to move around the room to avoid the big mountainous pillars that emanate from the boss. The same abilities cycle through at least 3 or 4 times depending on the key level. Now, if you thought this protective bubble here in the middle prevents a ton of damage for you and the group, you are sorely mistaken. As you can see here, I am casting Flashlight as fast as I possibly can to keep the group alive. And that is it for this video. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video, commenting below, and more importantly, subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.